All right, let's go ahead and get stuck. Why are you covered in dirt?
Easy question, dude. Because I was negotiating.
Oh my god, with who?
Calm down, dude. Squirrels.
Squirrels, really? Let me guess, you lost.
It wasn't a loss, dude.
Dude, I can clearly see that they stole your sandwich.
Dude, the sandwich was a peace offering, obviously.
Okay, then explain why they also stole your wallet.
Dude, they're building trust.
They're committing felonies.
Well, that depends on who wrote the laws.
People.
Exactly, dude. People, not squirrels.
I hate that you think that that's a valid argument.
You never know, dude. Maybe squirrels have their own government.
They literally don't.
Have you checked?
Yes, dude.
Really? Where?
Obviously outside.
Outside where?
Literally everywhere.
Did you ask them?
Okay, they don't speak English?
Wow, dude, that's incredibly specious of you.
That's not a word.
Beg to differ, dude. Became one about 30 seconds ago.
You just invent things when you're losing.
Yeah, dude, that's how discoveries happen.
No, that's how Facebook posts happen.
Same thing.
No, dude, not even remotely the same
Have
thing.
you ever seen Mark Zuckerberg and Bigfoot in the same room?
Yeah, actually, yes, I have.
Photoshop, dude.
You know, I have spent an alarming amount of my life wondering how you have survived this long.
Whoa, dude, easy.
Oh, good. This ought to be scientific.
Every bad decision I've ever made somehow became somebody else's problem.
That is, unfortunately, the most believable thing that you've ever said.
I know.
I hate that.
You know what your problem is?
Oh, please, enlighten me.
You're trapped inside the box.
I'm standing next to the box.
Mentally.
No, mentally, I'm trying to leave.
That's exactly what somebody inside the box would say.
All right, I walked into that one.
Yep, and you walked right into The Witch Show,
Oh
where
my
smart
God.
meets
Here
stupid
we
and
go
somehow
again.
makes sense.
Great.
My name's Georgie,
You always do
and I'm
this
thinking out
intro.
loud so you don't have to.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is The Witch Show, from what I think seriously to you.
WITS, The Witch Show.
Cool story, bro.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me back here on The Witch Show, where smart meets stupid and somehow makes sense. I'm Georgie. And before we dive into today's episode, I just want to say thank you. Every Saturday at 7 a.m., you all keep coming back to listen, laugh, think, and explore these crazy rabbit holes with me. Whether you've been here since the beginning or you just found the show, it truly means the world to me. This show wouldn't be what it is without you, and I genuinely couldn't keep doing this without your support. So, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for being a part of this journey with me. With that being said, there are a few of you that reach out to me all the time to ask me how I'm doing and, basically give me some ideas for the show. And I really do want to thank you guys for doing that. I love it when you guys give me show ideas because sometimes I'll be in a haze and I don't even know what to even go on talking about. And honestly, let's get real here for a second. The heat is insane lately. It is so freaking hot, and I don't know about you, but I don't do good in the heat. It sucks. And I know for a fact right now, Tim, you're listening to this show, and I guarantee the shop that you're working in, buddy, is like 120 degrees. So make sure you're drinking water, buddy, because I'm thinking about you all the time. Because I've worked with you in that same building, and it sucks. Thanks for always listening to my show, Tim. You're a real one, right? You're the GOAT. If you guys don't know who Tim is, he's the one that's always commenting, like you should be. Okay, to be fair, a lot of you guys do get on there and do comment. Whether it's on my TikTok or my Facebook or my actual show on podcast. And if you're listening right now and you're thinking, well, Georgie's not going to read my post, so why even bother? I will read your post. I will read your post and I will respond, and I might even give you a shout out on the show. This show is my biggest hobby. I love doing this. So when you guys engage with me, it fires me up, man. I love it. I love it when you guys get on here and you guys talk conspiracies, cryptids, and creepy things with me all the time. So get in there in my comment sections in Spotify or on YouTube or Facebook or TikTok, whatever it is, get in there and tell me something because I want to hear it. With all of that being said, today we're stepping into territory that can make people a little uncomfortable. Not because we're going to attack anybody's belief here, but because, well, we're willing to ask the questions that don't always have simple answers. And I know that people get really touchy on this subject because of how loyal, if you will, they are. Also, with that being said, I am not trying to persuade your opinion, especially when it comes to religion. I want to point out that I actually kind of envy you sometimes if you're religious. I personally wish that I could find a way to believe in something so greatly that nobody could ever tell me I was wrong. Unfortunately, my mind does not work that way. I am kind of a conspiracist, theorist, and I'm very open-minded. So I'm always listening and watching and relating things. So when I hear stories like these, I'm the guy that's always asking questions. We're going to take a closer look at one of the most influential people in human history and explore the questions that's been stuck in my mind. The ones that make me think out loud. Seriously. Was Jesus truly the prophet? So many believe him to be, or has his name become one of the most profitable institutions the world has ever known? This isn't about choosing sides. It's about looking at history, evidence, and the stories that have shaped billions of lives. If you ask me if I believe in the Bible, I'm going to tell you, yeah, I absolutely do believe in the Bible, but not in the concept that you think. Not to be rude or anything, but I think that, I think the Bible's changed people's lives. Do I think that the stories in the Bible are 100% true? Nah, not so much. So, through this episode, we'll separate historical facts from tradition, examine different perspectives, and ask some questions that might challenge all of us, including me. Whether you're a devoted believer or a skeptic or somewhere in between, my hope is that you will keep an open mind and enjoy the conversation. So grab your coffee, settle in, and let's figure this out together. This episode's about prophets, or is it a prophet? And before we can answer that question, prophet or prophet, we have to travel back roughly to 2,000 years ago and forget almost everything we think we know about the modern world. Imagine living in a land controlled by a foreign empire. Rome specifically, it ruled Judea with military power, taxed heavily, and political unrest was common. Many Jewish people believed ancient prophecies promised that one day God would send a Messiah, a chosen leader who would restore Israel and establish God's kingdom. Whether they expect a king, a military commander, or a spiritual teacher depended on who you asked. But one thing is clear from both the New Testament and other historical sources. Anticipation was high. When people are desperate for hope, they are often willing to listen to anyone who appears to offer it. So, to be clear, that's not unique to first century Judea. History shows that periods of uncertainty often produce charismatic leaders, religious movements, and people claiming to possess extraordinary powers. I mean, let's be honest, it was the thing to do. I mean, if you were this Messiah, people would worship you in the sense that you are the Son of God. Jesus was not the only person associated with messianic expectations during this time. Ancient Jewish historian Josephus wrote about several individuals who gathered followers and claimed divine authority, or inspired others to believe they had a special role in God's plan. Other figures such as Theudas and Simon Bar Kokhba were regarded by some as potential deliverers, although they did live in different points in history. The point isn't that these men were the same as Jesus. They weren't. The point is that Jesus entered a world where people were already watching for someone extraordinary. Being called a prophet or a miracle worker or even the Messiah wasn't unheard of. What made Jesus different wasn't simply that he attracted followers. It was that his movement survived his death and eventually spread across the Roman Empire, something that almost none of the other movements accomplished. Another important piece of the puzzle is understanding what people considered believable in, the first century. Traveling teachers, healers, exorcists, philosophers, fortune tellers, astrologers, and performers, they moved from town to town throughout the Roman world. Some genuinely believed they possessed supernatural gifts, while others almost certainly relied on illusion, psychology, or even carefully crafted performances. Ancient literature contains accounts of individuals astonishing crowds with acts that seemed impossible. Even today, skilled illusionists can perform feats that leave audiences convinced that they witnessed the supernatural. I mean, I remember watching Criss Angel when I was a kid. The dude was literally levitating above a freaking pyramid. And as a young kid, if you would have told me that dude had superpowers, real superpowers, and none of it was fake, I would have believed you. But more to the point, that doesn't prove that Jesus' miracles were tricks, nor does it prove they were divine. It simply reminds us that extraordinary claims were part of the culture at the time. And historians naturally ask whether reported miracles should be understood as literal events, symbolical stories, legendary traditions, misunderstood natural phenomena, or something genuinely beyond explanation. So, throughout history, skeptics and believers alike have proposed explanations for the resurrection of Jesus. Some have suggested that disciples experienced grief-induced visions. Others have argued that Jesus somehow survived the crucifixion, a proposal often called the swoon theory. Though most historians considered survival after Roman crucifixion highly unlikely because of the brutality of the punishment. Still, others have proposed that the body was moved or stolen, while believers argue these explanations fail to account for the conviction and rapid growth of the early Christian movement. There are also far more speculative ideas, including claims that Jesus may have had a secret twin or another look-alike. While these theories appear in later writings and popular speculation, there's no credible historical evidence supporting the claim that Jesus had a twin brother, and mainstream historians do not accept it as a likely explanation. Even so, the existence of so many competing theories highlights one remarkable fact. For nearly 2,000 years, people have continued searching for natural explanations to one of history's most debated events. Because honestly, the story of Jesus isn't one of the easiest ones to tell, but it is definitely the most influential one and has been so for, well, over 2,000 years now. And if we're going to have an honest conversation about Jesus, we need to separate two different questions that often get lumped together. Obviously, the first question is going to be, did Jesus exist? The second is, was he who he claimed to be? Those are not the same question. Surprisingly, among modern historians, including many who are not Christians, the first question isn't considered very controversial. While a tiny majority argue that Jesus was entirely mythical, the overwhelming consensus among scholars is that Jesus of Nazareth was a real historical person. He was a Jewish teacher from Galilee who lived during the 1st century, gathered followers, and was ultimately executed by crucifixion under the authority of Pontius Pilate. What a stupid name. I'm sorry. But seriously, I'm gonna name my kid Pontius Pilate. Okay, sorry, maybe that's offensive. I apologize. I mean, I'm only kind of sorry. Whatever, don't crucify me. See what I did there? That conclusion isn't based only on the Bible. It also comes from non-Christian sources written within the first couple of centuries after his death, including the Jewish historian Josephus and the Roman historian Tacitus. They weren't followers of Jesus, yet they still acknowledged that he existed and that his movement was already spreading. Now, that doesn't automatically prove Christianity is true. A historical figure can be real without every story told about them being accurate. We see that with famous rulers, military leaders, and, well, even modern celebrities. Stories grow, legends develop, memories become polished over time. That's why historians don't simply ask whether an event was recorded, they ask who recorded it, or when was it recorded, why was it recorded, and whether the independent source tells a similar story. The New Testament contains 4 Gospels that tell the story of Jesus from slightly different perspectives. Some skeptics point to those differences as evidence that the accounts can't be trusted. Others argue that if it's 4 independent witnesses and they told an identical story word for word, that would actually sound more suspicious, almost as if everyone had to rehearse the same script. Minor differences between eyewitness accounts are common in modern courtrooms, and they don't necessarily mean that the central event never happened. One thing that surprises many people is how close some of the earliest Christian writings are to the events they describe. The letters of Paul the Apostle were written within a few decades of Jesus' death, and many scholars believe some creeds quoted by Paul may have originated even earlier, possibly with just in a few years of the crucifixion. That's remarkably early by ancient historical standards. Compare that to figures like Alexander the Great, whose earliest surviving full biography were written centuries after his death, yet historians still considered Alexander a real historical figure. That doesn't prove every miracle in the gospel happened, but it does challenge the idea that the story of Jesus was invented hundreds of years later. Whatever happened, belief in his death, burial, and, claims of resurrection spread incredibly quickly. Of course, not everyone accepts the gospel accounts at face value. Some historians argue that Jesus was an apocalyptic preacher whose followers sincerely believed he rose from the dead after experiencing a vision or profound religious experience. Others suggest that oral tradition gradually added miracles, details, and stories that were passed from one generation to the next. There are also theories that the political motive helped Christianity grow after Jesus' death, especially once the Roman Empire eventually embraced the faith under Constantine the Great in the 4th century. Believers responded by pointing out that the earliest Christians gained no wealth, power, or comfort from proclaiming the resurrection. In fact, many faced imprisonment, torture, or execution. If they knowingly invented the resurrection story, they paid an astonishing price for the lie. That doesn't settle the debate, but it does make historians ask a difficult question. What convinced ordinary men and women that they were willing to die rather than deny what they believe they had witnessed? I don't know about you, but I'm personally not going to die for something unless I absolutely believe in it. So that definitely kind of pushes the narrative a little bit. So honestly, though, what happened to his message? Did the movement that grew in his name stay true to what he taught, or did it slowly transform into this entity that generates money? Because when many people think about Christianity today, they don't immediately picture a carpenter from Nazareth. They picture massive cathedrals and billion-dollar organizations and televangelists, private jets, celebrity pastors, political influences, and global institutions that reach nearly every corner of the planet. I mean, think about it. I live in Idaho. There is literally a Mormon church on every other block in this state. It's so severe that when I drove to Nebraska last year, I didn't see a single Mormon church, and I was actually shook. I was like, wow, I didn't realize that Idaho was so saturated with the Mormon religion. And when you think about the money-hungry game that's beyond it, like, look at churches. They're not taxed. The Mormon church, it's literally one of the richest faiths in the world. They're the largest landowners in the entire world. They have more land than anybody else privately. And guess what, boys and girls? They're not getting taxed on it. So while you're living in a city that charges you taxes, and those taxes are going to things like your roadways and stuff, the property in which the church is on is not paying for travel to that church. So the roadways that everybody's using to get there and destroyed and taking from your pockets to get fixed are, whether you believe in the church or not, or go to the church or not, you're still paying for it too. Because the roads have to be fixed outside of the church. That's exempt from your tax dollars. I could go on about this all day long, but I'm not going to, because the focus here is on whether the Messiah was really a Messiah, or was he created as a way to get some money from your pockets? Because we all know that tithings should be paid before your rent, or so they say. Oh, and if you're not baptized in some religions, if you pay enough tithing, you can be baptized while you're dead and still get into heaven. So, honestly, is it a prophet or is it a prophet? But you can't blame them, because Jesus was born into a time when people were desperate for hope. And expecting a Messiah, well, I mean, that gave the most hope. People are scared of what happens when you die. So believing that there's an afterlife and a creator that loves you indefinitely, well, that provides solace to some people. And when other people are smart enough to know that it's fake, well, then they twist it and take advantage of your money and use it to their advantage, or even power. In certain situations, religious leaders were looked at like kings. I mean, look at the Pope. The Pope literally has his own military. We've covered a lot of ground today. We looked at political climates where Jesus was born, at the time where people were desperate for hope and expecting a Messiah. We explore what historians believe they can confidently say about the historical Jesus and what remains uncertain. We examined the resurrection from both perspectives of believers and skeptics, and acknowledged that while many explanations have been proposed over the last 2,000 years, none have ended the debate. Then, of course, we shifted our attention to the institutions that grew in Jesus' name, asking whether modern Christianity reflects the teachings of the man at its center, or whether, in some cases, it has become something very different. At this point, you might be expecting me to tell you exactly what to believe, but the truth is that, well, that's not what this show is about. One thing that really stands out to me is this. Regardless of whether someone believes Jesus was the Son of God, or maybe a prophet, or a gifted teacher, or simply a remarkable historical figure, his influence is almost impossible to deny. The calendar used across much of the world is centered around his life. Billions of people today identify as Christians. His teachings have inspired hospitals, charities, universities, and humanitarian efforts across the globe. At the same time, his name has also been used to justify wars, political movements, corruption, and enormous financial empires. That doesn't necessarily tell us who Jesus was. It tells us how powerful ideas can become once human beings get involved. Throughout history, people have had an incredible ability to preserve noble ideas, and an equally incredible ability to distort them. Something else I found fascinating while researching this episode is that nearly every explanation for Jesus seems to require a leap somewhere. If you're a Christian, that leap may be believing that God entered history and literally conquered death. If you're a skeptic, that leap may be believing that a frightened group of followers sincerely came to believe something so strongly that it transformed the ancient world without a genuine resurrection. If you believe the story became legend over time, you have to explain why belief spread so quickly and why the earliest followers were willing to endure prosecution. If you think it was all an elaborate deception, you have to explain how the deception survived intense scrutiny, produced generations of people willing to die for their faith, and changed history on a scale that almost unmatched by any other movement. Every position carries difficult questions, and none of them come completely free of challenges. So, where do I land? Honestly, I think it's okay to not have every answer. I don't think asking difficult questions is a sign of weak faith, and I don't think believing in something greater automatically makes someone irrational. Curiosity has always pushed humanity forward. We ask questions because we want to understand the world a little bit better than we did yesterday. And sometimes those questions strengthen our belief. Sometimes they challenge them, and sometimes they leave us somewhere in the middle, still searching. And maybe that's okay. Maybe the goal isn't to win an argument. Maybe it's to keep looking for the truth within, well, humanity, and having enough humility to admit when we don't know. Whether you walked into this episode convinced Jesus was exactly who he claimed to be, or convinced he was simply a man, I hope today's conversation encouraged you to think a little deeper before settling on one specific answer. And as we wrap up this week's episode of The Witch Show, I want to leave you with one final question, and I'd genuinely love to hear your thoughts. So dive into my comments section and tell me what your thoughts are. If you could sit across the table from Jesus of Nazareth for just 1 hour, and you knew he would answer every question honestly, what would you ask him? Would you ask whether he was truly the Son of God? Would you ask about heaven? About miracles? About why suffering exists? Or would you ask him something completely different? Let me know in the comments, send me a message, or start a conversation with someone you trust. After all, that's what the show has always been about. I'm not telling you what to think, but I'm giving you something worth thinking about. Thank you again for spending part of your Saturday morning with me. I truly couldn't do this without every one of you, and I'm grateful you've chosen to be a part of my journey. And until next time, Saturday at 7 a.m., keep asking questions, people. Keep searching for the truth. And remember, we're all just figuring it out together. And until next time, this is The Witch Show, where smart meets stupid and somehow makes sense. My name's Georgie, and you already know that I'm always thinking out loud, so you don't have to.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is The Witch Show from what I think seriously to you.
WITS, The Witch Show.
Cool story, bro.
So after everything we talked about today, did you learn anything?
Oh, absolutely, dude.
Oh, really?
Yeah, dude. Never trust a carpenter.
What?
Think about it, dude. Guy disappears for 3 days, comes back, starts the biggest religion in human history.
No, that's not what we discussed.
That's what. Disgust.
Oh my god, dude, we spent like a half an hour looking at historical evidence.
Exactly, dude.
We examined multiple viewpoints.
Yep.
Yeah, and we clearly separated historical facts from speculation.
Well, I mean, I speculate historically.
Yeah, that's not a thing.
Is now.
Dude, no, you know what? I swear, if someone listened to only your side of this episode,
They'd have more questions.
no, they'd need more therapy.
Okay, first off, you're assuming they already needed therapy, and also the same destination, different route, dude.
You really think that everything is some giant conspiracy, don't you?
Well, not everything, dude.
Okay, name one thing.
Cows.
What? Cows?
Yeah, dude, cows. They're exactly what they claim to be.
Okay, well, that's actually oddly reassuring.
Well, although...
Dude, don't you finally...
Milk is kind of suspicious, dude.
Oh, and there it is.
Think about it. Who was the first guy to look at a cow and say, I'm gonna drink whatever comes out of that thing?
Society was a mistake.
Agreed.
So then after today's episode, what's your conclusion?
Simple, dude. I think that people should ask questions.
Okay.
They should look at the evidence.
Yeah, that's fair.
Keep an open mind.
I'm actually impressed.
And never underestimate squirrels.
Oh my god, and there it is.
They're always involved.
You know what? Speaking of ridiculous, how was your trip to the Bermuda Triangle?
Honestly?
Against my better judgment, yeah.
Well, it was kind of disappointing.
Really?
Yeah, dude. Freaking nothing supernatural happened.
Yeah, see, that's called reality.
Well,
Oh, no.
I can communicate with squirrels now. Turns out they don't disappear in the Bermuda Triangle.
Stop talking.
They just hold meetings there.
No, they don't.
Every other Tuesday, dude.
I'm leaving.
Yeah, well, Gary says you always leave before the good part.
Who's Gary?
You know the squirrel outside your window?
There's like a million squirrels out there.
Yeah, well, Gary's unique, and he says he'll explain everything next week.
I hate this show.
Yeah, well, Gary says he loves it, and the music too. That being said, hit it, Jarvis.
What's going on here?
That's my buddy, Gary the Squirrel. Let's steal a peanut, steal your fries.
Wait, hold on. Wait, stop.
What?
Stop
Chill
this.
out.
Wait, what is that?
What's going on, dude?
What is this?
Dude, are you kidding me? It's freaking Gary the Squirrel.
Yeah, I know it's Gary the Squirrel. Why is Gary the Squirrel playing on, why is it playing right now?
Obviously because it's a banger, dude.
No, it's not, because it's not a banger. The episode is literally called Prophet or Profit. You're supposed to be playing Prophet or Profit, the song.
Yeah, well, I know that, but this one's obviously better, dude.
Better?
Yeah, dude, way better.
We literally spent a week making the intro song.
Yeah, dude, and then Gary showed up. Duh.
Dude, Gary isn't even part of the episode.
Says who, dude?
Says literally the title.
Yeah, dude, the title's kind of just a suggestion.
No, it's not. It's not just a suggestion.
Think about it, dude. People expect Prophet or Profit. Nobody's expecting Gary.
Yeah, that's because they're not supposed to.
Exactly, dude.
Exactly what?
We hit them with emotional whiplash. They come here expecting
God, dude, I
history,
hate
and
you.
they leave humming about a squirrel.
That's the dumbest thing that you've ever said.
Yeah, is it though?
I can't believe I'm... Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Admit
anymore.
it, dude. You've had the chorus stuck in your head since yesterday.
Actually, no.
Yeah, you have, dude. You just sang it in your head.
I did not.
You totally did.
No, I didn't, dude.
Yeah, dude. I'm literally in your head. Yes, you did. Also, Gary says you don't mean that.
Oh my god, shut up. There is no Gary. You know what? Forget it. This whole thing, it's stupid. Jarvis, just play the song.
Everybody shouting from the rooftops. Everybody saying that they know. One side's preaching from the mountain. One side says just let it go. History's covered up in questions. Truth gets buried under stone. Everybody's got an answer, but who's brave enough to say I don't know? Maybe we're all just chasing echoes, trying to find where they all began. Maybe the truth is bigger than the stories. Maybe it's closer than we understand. Prophet or prophet, tell me where the light is gone. Are we following the message or the ones who changed the song? I'm still searching. I'm still reaching for the light. I'd rather ask 1,000 questions than pretend that I was right. Every generation writes another chapter. Everybody's got a brand new claim. Some are selling hope for dollars. Some are calling out his bridge to heaven. Pride can tear the whole thing down. Maybe it's not about perfection. Maybe truth is found by looking around. If we're scared to ask the hard things, were we ever really free? Truth has never feared a question, only certainty without humility. Prophet or prophet, tell me where the line has gone. Are we following the message or the ones who changed the song? I'm still searching, I'm still reaching for the light. I'd rather ask 1,000 questions than pretend that I was right. Maybe history whispers, maybe legends grow, maybe faith is stronger when we simply don't know. So don't be afraid to open your mind. The best discoveries take a little time. Prophet or prophet? Maybe that's the wrong debate. Maybe what defines the answer isn't fear